Dr. Stephen Strange. I've read about you, or at least, versions of you. A surgeon who mapped the human body so precisely he thought reality itself must obey the same rules. Then one accident and suddenly science wasn't enough anymore. It must have been unsettling to realize the world you mastered was only one layer of something much larger. To go from certainty to humility overnight. So I understand why you'd look at magic and try to unify it, categorize it, make it fit. But I don't think what you practice is the same thing we do.
Hermione Granger, top of your class. Known not just for talent, but for restraint. Someone who treats magic less like a gift and more like a responsibility you earn one page at a time. I respect that. And that's exactly why I think our worlds are closer than you realize. You learned magic through structure, through study, through discipline. I learned it the same way, only later in life, and far less gently. Magic didn't belong to me any more than it belonged to you. I learned to access it. That distinction matters.
It does, but not in the way you think. In my world, magic is a property, a trait, something you either have or you don't. You can refine it, control it, even misuse it, but you can't study your way into it from nothing. You didn't discover magic, you forced your way into it. There's a difference between learning a language you were born able to hear and inventing a device to detect sound.
And yet the sound is still there. What if magic isn't a bloodline but a frequency? Some are born sensitive to it. Others need to tear down their assumptions before they can perceive it. I wasn't special. I was stubborn. Camartage didn't give me power. It taught me how to stop dismissing what I couldn't measure. That's not different from Hogwarts. It's just less polite about it.
You're overlooking something important. At Hogwarts, magic is taught with limits baked in. Wand movements, incantations, rules about what not to touch. You call that restraint quaint. I call it a safety mechanism. Your magic draws power from places beyond your world, dimensions with their own agendas, their own costs. Westview didn't happen because Wanda lacked power. It happened because your system encouraged emotional amplification without containment. In my world, that kind of magic would have been flagged, locked away and studied before it consumed a town.
And in your world, that same magic sat in basements until someone desperate found it. Dark spells sealed behind good intentions are still loaded weapons. You talk about containment, but Voldemort didn't invent his power. He discovered what was already hidden and learned how to exploit it. The difference between our worlds isn't access, it's transparency.
Transparency doesn't make something safer. You train sorcerers to manipulate reality itself and then trust their judgment to hold. We restrict because we know what happens when curiosity outruns maturity. The restricted section exists because not everyone who can read should.
And yet you read it anyway. That's the hypocrisy you're avoiding. You trusted yourself with forbidden knowledge because you believed your intent was pure. I did the same. The difference is, I don't pretend intent alone keeps the universe intact. I assume everyone is fallible, including me. That's why magic in my world isn't inherited privilege. It's an ongoing negotiation with reality.
And that's precisely why it's dangerous. You treat magic like physics with feelings. Something to be balanced, bargained with, redirected. In my world, magic is closer to biology. It grows with you, but it also limits you. You can't pull infinite power without consequence because the system doesn't allow it. Your magic encourages escalation. Ours enforces conservation.
Or stagnation. Your system protects society by narrowing possibility. Mine protects it by demanding accountability from those who reach further. You call dimensional magic reckless. I call it honest. The universe doesn't care about your school rules. It responds to intention, awareness, and cost. Magic isn't owned by witches and wizards. It's perceived by them.
Then explain this. If magic is merely sensitivity, why can Muggles study alongside us for centuries and never touch it? Why do spells fail in their hands no matter how carefully they follow instructions? You didn't awaken to magic because you studied hard enough. You broke yourself against the limits of your worldview until it shattered. That's not accessibility. That's extremity.
Or initiation. Not everyone reaches the same truths through the same doors. Some are born inside the house. Others knock until their knuckles bleed. You protect magic by lineage. I protect it by comprehension. Both systems fail when fear takes over.
And both fail when ego does. You say witches and wizards are simply human. I agree. But humans with magic still need boundaries. Otherwise, power becomes identity. We've seen where that leads.
So have I. And yet, here we are, still practicing. Which suggests the truth is less about whose magic is superior, and more about how much chaos each system is willing to tolerate before it intervenes.
I'll say this, Dr. Strange. I admire the way you approached magic the way you once approached medicine. With discipline, with hunger, with the refusal to let ignorance intimidate you. You didn't run from what you couldn't explain. You dismantled your old worldview and rebuilt it piece by piece. That takes humility. My parents are Muggles. They don't understand magic the way I do. But they never dismissed it either. They trusted that the world was larger than what they personally could measure. You did the same. You allowed yourself to see beyond the limits of your training. And perhaps that's what matters most. Then perhaps we're not arguing about whether our magic is the same at all. Perhaps we're arguing about how it's accessed and how it's governed. In my world, magic is inherited and structured for stability. In yours, it is discovered and negotiated through risk. They may not be identical systems, but they are both attempts to understand something vast without letting it unravel us.
Spoken like someone who has read every book in the room, and then questioned the footnotes. You remind me of the kind of doctor I once tried to be. Precision-driven, relentless, certain that if the right method existed, the outcome could be controlled. And that discipline of yours, the way you refuse to cast before you comprehend, that's something many sorcerers in my world could learn from. You see magic as something to preserve. I see it as something to navigate. But both approaches require the same thing: restraint. So no, our magic may not operate under identical mechanics, but they stem from the same truth. Power does not belong to the reckless. It belongs to those willing to study it and limit themselves before it limits them.